Hi everyone, we'll continue memorizing from the book of Hebrews. So we memorized up to verse 9. Today we are going to memorize verse 10. It's a very short verse. I'll read that. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 10. For whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. For whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. So I'll read that again. So I'll read 8, 9 and 10 together. For if Joshua had given them rest, God would not speak later of another day. So then there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. For whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. So this is a very short verse. So we already reflected on this. So here, only a couple of points I wanted to say. First is, for whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. So the first point is, in Genesis we saw that God completed his creation in 6 days, and on 7th day he has taken rest. Not that he needed rest, right? He is God, he doesn't need rest, but he has taken rest just to give us an example or just to give us a model to follow. So we have 6 days to work. We have 6 days to labor, but 7th day we should dedicate to God, we should take rest. So we already reflected, right? Work is holy, but love is holier, right? So 6 days we should work really hard, but on 7th day we should take rest. We should dedicate that time to God. We should dedicate that time to our family, and we should dedicate that time to ourselves, right? We should take some rest and rejuvenation, right? Our body also needs rest. We need that rest for next week's task, right? So for next 6 days, we need that rest. So that's why God has given that as a commandment. If he has given that as a commandment, it is good for us. And he already set an example for us to follow. He finished his labor in 6 days. He created everything in 6 days. And on 7th day, he took rest. So that is the model. That's the example that we should follow. So he has given us some work in this world, right? So we have 6 days to work, but 7th day, we should take rest. And the cycle repeats. So that's the first point. Second point is, for whoever, the rest that here, we say the Sabbath rest, right? The Sabbath rest or the rest that Joshua or Moses had given to the Israelite people, it prefigures our eternal rest, right? It's a symbol of our eternal rest. Basically prefigures our eternal rest, right? That's not the true rest. So here we read, for whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. So God has completed his creation in 6 days. After that, he is not directly interfering in the created world, right? So he is overseeing it. He has finished his creation and he has entrusted that created world to man to take care of that. After that, he is overseeing it. So it is man's responsibility to work in this created world. So he has given that responsibility to man and he is overseeing it. So God finished his creation in 6 days and enter into rest. And he has given that work to us, right? So he entrusted man to take care of this created world. And once our work on this earth, here is completed, we will also enter into the eternal rest, right? So that is the true rest. So once we finished our work faithfully, whatever job God has given us, whatever work God has given us, once we finish that faithfully, we will also enter into the eternal rest. Just like God ceased from his labors, we will also cease from our labors and enter into a rest. That is the true rest, right? So that is what is given here. For whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. So with this, I'll conclude today's short meditation. I'll read that again. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 10. For whoever enters God's rest also ceases from his labors as God did from his. Thank you. God bless you all.